I don't know, there's some origins and meanings I'd like to check out. But the gingerbread man, straight up just going to eat him. You're going to chase him, just going to eat you. London Bridge is falling down. They call the process of putting kids into structures of building immurement. And immurement wasn't you put dead bodies underneath London Bridge or some of these other buildings. You would put a live child inside the building. So the whole London Bridge is falling down. You have like the two people with their arms. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling. And then eventually you go all the way down. Well, the whole thing, there's a kid inside. So when you go all the way down, you actually trap him inside the bridge, London Bridge. The solution to London Bridge is to put a kid in London Bridge. So yeah, those are the big pop culture things. Circumcision. Circumcision is also child abuse. Right before I was born, they're going to cut the tip of my dick off. Right? They're going to cut the hood, the skin, the flap. I'll never get schmegma. That's one good thing about being circumcised. If you're circumcised, you'll never get schmegma. But the idea of circumcision is to take away the pleasure, to take away the sensory nerves, so that way you're less sexually active, and you know, you're not injuring yourself, you're not spreading diseases, you're not getting people pregnant, etc. So, you know, I feel like something was taken away from me. I mean, that's not fair. Before I was even of a sound mind to even, you know, say Baba or anything, you're gonna just take away my manhood like that, just rob away my it's not that bad, to be honest with you, but it does. I mean, genitalia mutilization is everywhere, and it's worse with women. I mean, they actually get inside and mess women up to, or girls up, to where they can never have kids. And I sort of, I guess just because I was circumcised, I think I would make my kids circumcised. But that's not a good reason. That's not a good reason. That's stupid. I'm listening to myself talk right now, and it doesn't make any sense. So no. I mean, no, I will not. That's how God made you. So why would we want to change how God made you, right? Some people say there's health benefits. If you wash yourself like you're supposed to, it's actually it'll be okay, and since it's supposed to be there, it's actually more healthy for it to still be there. I think you would actually, since there's a flap of skin there, I think it would like help things work out. You actually have something that, you know, to move up and down, that actually, you know, it is an erogenous zone right where the tip of the dick was supposed to be, where the hood was supposed to be. Which is no longer there now. So I want to talk a little bit about Ashley Judd. She had a hard upbringing. She was born poor in Appalachia, Kentucky. But before that, I wanted to read this Eric Erickson quote. So Eric Erickson, he said, the most deadly sin, someday maybe there will exist a well-informed, well-considered, and yet fervent public conviction that the most deadly of all possible sins is the mutilization of a child's spirit. For such a mutilization undercuts the life principle of trust, without which every human act, may it feel ever so good and seem ever so right, is prone to perversion by destructive forms of conscientiousness. So that's what you do when you hit a kid and you break their spirit. You're mutilizing that child's spirit, and you're undercutting the life principle of trust. The life principle of trust. That's Eric Erickson, who's also a big educational theorist / sociologist. Eric Erickson. Ashley Judd, she when she was younger, she thought about seriously killing herself. Her mother also thought about seriously killing herself. But I think her mother might have been abusive. I think her mother might have been violently abusive. There's The reason why I say that is just because it's the way that she yells at her about this letter that she sent to her dad, the way she kept her trapped, and the way that violence seems to be an acceptable solution. I don't know. This is actually small, but like, okay. So Ashley Judd's Uncle Mark, he hits his sister. Alright, here's the story. So Mom and Uncle Mark had rented a U-Haul truck and had laid a mattress in the back for our travel space for the 2,000-mile trip, propping open the rear door afoot to give us some air. And this is Winona and Ashley Judd in the back of this U-Haul truck. During one long day of driving in an inexplicable rage, my sister started climbing into high piles of furniture and boxes and jumping on me, and then holding me down, licking my face until I was hysterical. Just desperate for it to stop, I took off my small shirt and waved it out the back of the trailer, trying to flag down some help. I was more afraid of my sister than falling out into the interstate. And Winona remembers that a state trooper pulled us over and she received a humiliating spanking from her mild, kind uncle for being so cruel to me. So even though Ashley covers up that her Uncle Mark is mild and kind, he hit a kid. His crime is hit a kid. But the kid was hurting someone else, so there's some degree of justice in it. But the reason why I want to point this out, and I'll tie it into Franz Fanon quote in Paulo Freire's Pedagogy of the Oppressed book, the colonized man will first manifest this aggressiveness which is deposited in his bones against his own people. So the colonized man, the Africans are being oppressed by the white people, but the Africans are attacking each other and they're not attacking those who are colonizing them. This is the period when the niggers beat each other up and the police and magistrates do not know which way to turn when faced with the astonishing waves of crime in North Africa. While the settler, the policeman, has the right the livelong day to strike the native, to insult him, make him crawl to him, you'll see the native reaching for his knife at the slightest hostile or aggressive glance cast on him by another native. For the last resort of the native is to defend his personality vis-a-vis his brother. So since there is no humanity for the colonized people, the way that they feel anything is when they hit each other. That's what I think is going on between Winona and Ashley. Why is Winona hitting Ashley over and over again? They're both not being loved, so Winona's taking it out on Ashley just to feel something. So Ashley's judge, Uncle Mark, sits there, spanks Winona. The state trooper sees it, the problem's being dealt with. She got some punishment. Go on about your day. The reason why I think that this story is significant because it perfectly parallels with state power. State power is parental authority. So the cops have a monopoly of violence, and when the cops saw that the monopoly or that violence was being utilized, that satisfied them. They went on about their way. So I feel as though not only is the home, the government of the home important, but the government of the bigger system outside is important too. So Ashley Judd, she writes about the abuse at the hands of numerous men, including an unnamed family member. They wore second-hand clothes, occasionally lived without electricity or indoor plumbing in poor rural Kentucky. So Ashley Judd wasn't just from Kentucky, but she was poor. She had no plumbing, no electricity. In King Coal Country, how are you going to have no electricity? I've seen people, the electric company, pull the electric from kids that have, from families that have kids. I mean, how's that right? So Ashley Judd and Winona, they grew up in poor Appalachia, poor Kentucky. They had no electric, no indoor plumbing. They wore secondhand clothes. Ashley Judd is Kentucky. Ashley Judd is directly Kentucky. Ashley and Winona were raised by basically a single mother since it didn't work out with Michael Simonella. There was one man who moved in with them who was an abusive, full-blown heroin addict with a criminal record. She says the chaotic atmosphere at home exposed her inappropriately to sexuality, led her to being abused repeatedly. She writes that she was an incest victim but does not name her abuser. Ashley also recounts being pulled into the dark corner of a pizza place by an old man everyone knew, who then offered me a quarter for the pinball machine at the pizza place if I'd sit on his lap. He opened his arms. I climbed up and I was shocked when he suddenly cinched my arms, cinched my arms around me, squeezing me and smothering my mouth was his, jabbing his tongue deep into my mouth. After winning a high school beauty contest, Ashley was given a 2-month teen modeling contract in Japan, which she hoped would be an escape from her horrific life, turned into part of the continuing nightmare. One manager on the trip made sexual advances and a male model attempted to force her to perform oral sex. A Frenchman who gave her a ride tried to rape her in his car. 42-year-old Kentucky native said that there's always marijuana inside the house and that her dad was prone to taking hallucinogens with friends on Saturday nights. I was taught to believe that our lifestyle is normal, never to question it. Even when I was left alone for hours, sometimes days at a time, when I was passed without warning to yet another relative. Among the bombshells, Naomi, 65, lied to Ashley's father, convincing him that he was also the dad to Winona. Charlie Jordan was actually Winona's father. I took the plane with Mom's gun, trying to decide if it would be worth to shoot myself. She wrote, there were many days after school I would expertly check the chamber, load bullets, give it a spin, with the jerk of my wrist, click the chamber into place, cock the trigger, and then hold the gun to my right temple. To me, the way my family lived was already killing me. In addition, Judd writes about being raped while she was a 15-year-old model in Japan. Naomi said in the book of the Judds, my first memory is when I was 3.5. When I was 3.5, a man was trying to sexually abuse me. That was the first memory Naomi had about anything. So Naomi would fight with her dad. They were pretty epic fights. Sometimes Naomi would go for her revolver, the same revolver that Ashley would put up against her temple. So even though Ashley felt like she was real inside, that's why she put the gun to her head. And to kill herself seemed preferable to the slow death of, staying in an inescapable, oppressive situation. Try to tell people, this is Ashley saying, I tried to tell people what it was like to be me, what being here felt like. My reality was that no one listened, no one believed me, and even if they did pity me, no one acted. Episodes of suicidal ideation to cope with searing emotional pain continued into my adulthood. To this day, I have no clue how I survived other than by the grace of God, especially in the form of angels intermittently put on my path who showed me some interest in me. They kept me going. Naomi got mad, got in front of Ashley's face when she wrote a letter saying, I need to get out of here. And Naomi said, don't you ever talk bad about me to my daddy again. Don't you ever talk bad about me to my daddy again. George Carlin said he hated people who'd always talk about, well, my daddy always said, if you always did to my daddy. They talk about that obedient fucking bullshit. That dumb shit. In response to minimizing, we imbue our painful memories with even greater intensity with anger that becomes rage, shame that becomes humiliation, and loneliness that becomes a hole in the soul. In short, the memories become indictments of self and of others. That's Ashley Judd, page 166, just talking about how the painful memories that we live through and go through, we relive them with greater intensity, and the anger that was there becomes rage, shame becomes humiliation, loneliness becomes a hole in the soul. It's a good sentence. In short, memories become indictments of self and the others. So there's isolated incidences like, remember that time when you did that? Remember that, what you did there? Naomi Judd always told Ashley that Dad didn't want another baby when she was conceived, and that he had even pressured her to have an abortion, to abort Ashley. But Naomi lied. Naomi just lies about stuff like that. That's what Naomi does. Essentially what had happened with the way Ashley Judd was raised, and this is The mutilization of a child's spirit does enormous damage. It's incredible. Part of the problem was that, this is Ashley speaking, part of the problem was that large swaths of my childhood memories were void, so I naturally disregarded them. It never occurred to me that there was stuff buried there that I needed to uncover, discover, and discard.